And thank you for tuning in to the Rangers Rabble. Before we get to the content, I would just like to let you know about a brand new sponsor that we have, Rangers Pools. For every £1 that you spend, you help support the building of the new Edmiston House. And if you sign up with the code Rangers Rabble Podcast, you're also helping the podcast as well. So, Wilf, I know that you've used Rangers Pools before.
I have indeed, Mark. I use it every week. I've got two lines on the direct debit. I play every week. It's very easy to navigate. You just go on, make yourself an account, go onto the pools page. You can either do it weekly or, as I do, just with a standing order of numbers. It's from memory. I think it's 10. The first 10 games you think are going to be score draws in the coupon every week. But football's that random. I just said, right, that'll be 10 numbers. That'll be 10 numbers. There's my £2 every week, and let's just see what happens.
We'll see, there you go. So it's dead easy to use. And of course, if you do sign up in the supporter branch agency, if you just put in Rangers Rabble Podcast, you're helping support Rangers, support the building of the new Edmiston House, but you're also helping to support the Rangers Rabble Podcast. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the content.
Good evening and welcome to the Rangers Rabble Celtic Preview Pod. Tonight I'm joined by Scott Kennedy and Scott Kerr. How's it going, guys?
Magic, thanks.
Good stuff. All right, let's just get right in about it, I suppose. After what happened last time out against St Johnstone, obviously the disappointing defeat on penalties, do we expect to see a big reaction, Kerr?
I think we have to see a reaction. I think the players will probably try to put a reaction out just because they probably felt embarrassed about the cup defeat. I don't feel gutted about getting out of the cup, but I think also because it's Celtic and it's the last Old Firm game of the season, or like Glasgow Derby, as people say, they want to go out and get a victory. So as you know yourself, Celtic's not beat us since 2019, so we need to at least get a victory to keep that record going.
What about yourself, Scott Kennedy? Do you feel the same way, or is it because it's an Old Firm game we expect to see a reaction anyway?
Just exactly the same as what Kerr said there. I mean, the last time out was really disappointing. I think there's also a major overreaction in terms of how we played. I think once the dust settles again, I don't think we played that badly. I think our finishing could have been better. And, you know, it's one of them games that if we scored the really obvious chances that we had, we walk away 3-0 winners. If Sputs maybes or whatever, but we didn't, so we're out the cup. But again, it's a match that we didn't actually lose. So we've seen them already this season. Usually that's followed by a really positive performance. And there's no better or bigger platform for us to actually deliver what would be probably the best and final blow of the season, and just go out and stick a marker on it and really play again with some intent. Because again, in the last game, I think the intent was there. Go and do the same, go for it. So same as the cup, really strong start. And I don't think the players need a kick up the backside for motivation. I think this group actually motivates themselves. And I'll be really, really surprised if we didn't see an aggressive reaction. Really surprised.
Yeah, well, I think in some ways it's probably the best game we could have hoped for. Because obviously, the build up to these games, regardless if the season is over or not in terms of the championship, the supporters want to win it again. And the players were well aware that the supporters want us to win again. So, from my point of view, it's probably the perfect game. The players will know what's expected of them. And I think in a lot of ways now, the sort of mental edge is on our side. Celtic need to come and beat us. That's the difference. In the past, kind of a couple of years almost up until this season, we were the ones that were having to keep pushing and pushing and pushing to try and get above them and then stay ahead of them. Whereas now we've did that. So it's up to them to almost chase us. And I think for us, that's a big mental thing. So I think going into the game on Sunday yet again, we just go out there and we have a good start to the game and we have a good reaction. And yet again, always feel as though if we get the first goal in these games, I always feel as though we're going to win them. It's just like a mental thing now. Once you get ahead of Celtic, are they good enough to come back? And so far, I think we would have to say this season they've not. And I think for us, that's a big, big thing.
Yeah,
right, moving on to the next point. Obviously, at the moment, we don't know the full team news Philip Hollander obviously come off against St Johnstone. It didn't look that bad, but obviously, if he was to be missing, it doesn't look like Leon Balogun's back yet either. So would it be a bit of a concern, Scott Kennedy, that possibly Jack Simpson has to play, or is that not really a concern for you?
For me, it's a huge concern.
Right.
Absolutely huge, because no disrespect to Jack Simpson, but at times it looks like he's not a centre-back. Whether that's because I just don't think he's suited to the Scottish game. It's a really aggressive, physical game, and I just don't think he's got that in his locker. I see him more of a Rob Kiernan than a Connor Goldson in terms of physical stature and aggression. I think he could. I mean, when you see who's going to be up against as well, and it's Edward, and he's got a bit of dig and physical nature about him, but you can tell he doesn't necessarily like playing against Hollander, because Hollander will be all over him like a rash. You know, Jack Simpson perhaps isn't going to be that type of defender. And there's been times when I've looked at Simpson and I thought, well, should be doing better there. And I know the excuse is, oh, well, he's not played a lot of football. But these guys play day in, day out, every single day at training. And yeah, okay, well, they don't play 11 aside all the time in training, but they're still playing a hell of a lot of football.
Yeah.
I mean, there should still be a base level that they hit, even though they've been out for a while. And you've seen it when players come in from the cold after an injury or a long-term injury, or other players can do it. So for me, that excuse doesn't necessarily fly. And yeah, I suppose it is a concern, but we'll wait and see. And, you know, with these things, I can't wait to be proved wrong. I mean, that's probably the best way I can put it. I want to be proved wrong. I always want to go, Scott, you're just talking shy, basically. But yeah, as for alternatives, that's all we've got. So we'll just wait and see. I mean, I hope Hollander comes through, just because I love the Hollander-Goldson partnership. Yeah. But if it's Simpson, it's Simpson. And we'll see what happens.
Kerr, what about yourself, mate? How do you feel about it?
I'm kind of in some agreement with Scotty. I do feel he needs a season to sell into Scottish football, but I do agree with the aggressive side. He looks quite timid at times. He looks a neat and tidy footballer, right enough, but he looks quite timid, especially when going challenging people, or even just defending in the box. He looks quite timid and going in for challenges. But maybe that's just because you've not seen a lot of him. So, like Scotty said, he trains with the players. He's played football with Bournemouth, so he should know how to put a challenge in and stuff like that. And I suppose if he starts an Old Firm game, there's no hiding place for him. So if he doesn't make it, then it's a big marker for next season. It could make or break him for next season if he doesn't perform well. So it's a big game for the lad if he is picked. Hopefully Hollander is fit, but it's just wait and see.
Yeah, I think we're just kind of spoiled in some ways of how good Connor Goldson and Hollander have been as a partnership in general this season. You know, both are just such talented footballers. Both read the game so well. They're good in the air. They've got a decent selection of, you know, the passing range that they've got. And Hollander seems like quite a kind of chilled, kind of relaxed guy. You know, like nothing really seems to faze him that much. I mean, other than that night in Benfica where he had a bit of a rattle for a period of the game. I mean, he's basically looked excellent for us in every single game. And I think that shows you the partnership with Golson's so strong. And obviously, Balogun's come in and offered something different. He's got that little extra bit of pace that has helped us in some games. With Jack Simpson, I think we've still to see more of him. We need to see more of him. We need to understand what his strengths are and what his weaknesses are. I think at the moment, I agree with both of you guys. I think that physical side of the game seems to be a slight issue for him. But if you want to play in Scotland, you really need to get used to that, because that's one of the biggest parts of the game up here. You know, like, we see against St Johnstone, they'll go direct and they'll put the ball down your throat and they'll keep doing it and doing it and doing it, because it only takes that once or twice that they get the flick on and you're in big trouble. He does look neat and tidy with the ball at his feet, but that's probably like the last thing that you're looking for a defender. As long as you can defend first and then like do all the simple things well, then like the added bonus is being a ball player, isn't it?
I think the added emphasis shouldn't necessarily be get used to the physical nature. I think I think it's actually got to be, you've got to embrace it, and you've got to batter down that wall with your forehead. You've actually got to meet it head on and challenge it, not just embrace it, because then it's that again is just not enough. It's going to pass you by, because you could tell, like if take Connor Goldson for example, when he first came, he was a big physical defender, and he was trying to meet that physical challenge and then exceed. And then you can tell something clicked with him, thinking that wasn't enough. And now he's just an absolute beast, an absolute beast at the back. Helander, if he had Balogun's pace, I mean, he probably wouldn't be playing for Rangers. He'd be somewhere else. He'd just be utterly class. His reading of the game reminds me a lot of David Weir. But it's interesting. I recall the St. Johnstone game. I don't know if you guys remember, but it was at some point in extra time. And I think Simpson had got caught, and he recovered really, really well on the byline, and he's dribbled the ball out. And I'm thinking, what the fuck are you doing? That's like overconfidence with the ball at his feet, and it came out of nowhere. So then, something like that makes you think that there's definitely a footballer in there. Yeah. There's definitely a footballer in there. So that side, football side, as you say, nothing. That side perhaps will suffer rustiness. The actual aggression side, that isn't rustiness. That is either something you have or you don't. And as you say, it's the last thing that you want as a defender to have as your best attribute, is being able to be a great footballer.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's almost the last thing on the tick list, isn't it, really? Yeah. But you want to be able to do all the dirty things first and then do the good things going to last almost.
And I think you've got to give maybe give him a chance next season, because you look at him, because he came for Bournemouth, not played a lot of first-team games, but he's playing academy games, and a lot of academy games in England, they don't really put challenges in. It's a lot of just playing football. It's not really, it's not aggressiveness. It's not. So he's coming up to a league where he's not really playing against a lot of talented professionals. He's playing against a lot of people that just want to run at you, chase you, hassle you, just going in your face, and he's going to have to get used to that. If he doesn't used to it, then time will tell. We'll not be here, but he's going to have to get used to it quick.
Yeah. No, I think that's spot on. I think, without being disrespectful, we obviously just haven't seen enough of the guy so far. We've seen like the St. Johnstone League game. We've seen him come on in a couple of other games. I think without seeing him maybe 3, 4, 5 games in the top, then maybe we can get a good idea as to what he's better at or what he can improve on, which is obviously why he's here. The manager obviously sees something in him, and that's why they've been after him to bring him in. The same like obviously the young midfield player that we've obviously pre-signed as well. Okay, moving on. Just looking at obviously the previous cup game and how we set up and the 11 that started that game. If everybody's fit, do we go with the same 11 again? Or is it time to maybe look at somebody like Scott Wright getting a start? I'll come to you first, Kerr.
I would like to see Scott Wright get a start, because I think he's not done anything at all. It's not showed that he shouldn't be starting. He's done everything. Gone to a pitch and he's looked impressive. He's looked full energy. He always gets involved. Sometimes actually highlights the game up for us, but I don't think we can go with Aribo in the middle of the park. I know I've said that a few times, but I don't like him in the centre of the park. I think defensively he's an issue, so you push him further up. But I would like to see Scott Wright get a start. Morelos and Kent. You can't leave Morelos and Kent out. Kent against Celtic, he has to play, and I'll play Morelos as well. So I'd like to maybe see right up with that. But middle of the park, you have to go a wee bit stronger than Aribo there.
So that means you're not playing Aribo then, you're starting Scott Wright on the right-hand side, and it's going to be Arfield, Davis and Kamara in the middle of the park for you then?
If that's who's fit, yes.
All right. Right, Scott Kennedy, how do you feel? Do you agree? Do you disagree?
Well, I'm just a miserable git, and I'm just going to disagree for the sake of it. Actually, I'm just going to... I'll agree with Scott Wright. I think what I've seen, the endeavour and the energy that he brings to the side, I think he's got to start. I think he deserves to start. And not only that, but he's actually bringing some quite really, really pleasing to the eye intricacies in his play. Like 1-2, quick feet, quick bursts of energy, quick 1-2s, and he can really cause defense problems. I think if he can strike up a partnership with Aribo on that side with Tav, it could be quite formidable. I get the trepidation about Aribo and his defensive side, but I'm not overly concerned. Not overly concerned because there's still 9 other outfield players on the park, and it seems really easy to pinpoint one person for not busting a gut every single time to track back, because not every single player does. On the odd occasion, you may get caught out and you may concede a chance, or even worse, concede a goal. But it happens. It happens with everyone. It happens with Tav, happens with Arfield, happens with Davis and Kamara. So I'm not overly concerned. It just seems that perhaps Aribo gets the sharp end of the stick. If I just made something up there, sharp end of the stick. But I think there's real potential there. I do think Aribo's work rate needs to step back up a couple of notches, and I say that because when, like last season, when we were, let's say, not top dogs, the 1 to 11, the energy was all over there throughout the team. And then we've kind of realised that we are the best team in Scotland. And the energy isn't there, but the patience is. The patience, the skill, and the guile is. So we're willing to wait things out and wait for the patterns of play. So we don't need to go blood and thunder throughout. We're like picking and choosing our timing, which is great to see. But in games, on old firm games, I just don't think you can do it every single time and expect to win. You'll get caught out too many times. It just levels the playing field. It brings the balance of play back to more an even game when you're not matching the energy. Because let's face it, Celtic still have quality and they still can hurt us. And it would be folly for us to write them off just because they've had a poor season. I think where we could write them off is just by saying that none of them really give a shit either. But that's no excuse for us to drop off. So, yeah, for me, standard side. If they're all fit, I'm bringing in Wright and leaving Aribo in there. And my main man Hadji's warming the bench.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to ask a quick question on a couple of other things then. If Ryan Jack's fit, which obviously we know he's not, does that mean it's easier to play Aribo in the middle of the pitch because you know that Ryan Jack protects the back four easier? Or is it just a matter of, we're not really a fan of Aribo in that midfield three because maybe he doesn't do the extra work that maybe the other guys like Kamara does, Davis does, and Jack does? Is that a fair assessment, or do you think that's slightly harsh on Aribo, Kerr?
I think it's slightly harsh. I mean, I criticise him for being there, but I just feel he does his best work further up the pitch.
Right.
I feel he gets involved more, and he creates more, and he offers more, and he scores a few goals and he's playing further. I feel coming deeper, he tries to do the same things, but he can get caught out because he's deeper for the opposition's goal. So I feel he does his work further up, and if he does get caught out further up, then there's also 3 players behind him. And if Ryan Jack's fit, you could be able to play him there next to Ryan Jack, because Ryan Jack offers us much more than a lot of Rangers fans actually think he does. And I know that's me just saying that myself, in my opinion, but I just feel he offers us so much stuff that we're missing. It's stuff that simply does. He just kind of cleans up the work that people don't do, and he just does things that some players don't want to do, and that's what we're missing. It's against St Johnstone in the last 2 games, that's what we were missing. Somebody just middle of the park to steady the ship at times, and we didn't have anybody there. Stephen Davis tries, but he can't do it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of like sort of going slightly off topic, is these next 3 games important for certain players because of next season? Because obviously we're going to look to improve over the summer. We're going to look to add more quality, probably in the midfield area. And obviously, depending on if anybody's sold over the summer, which I think we can expect is going to be the case, is it important that the final 3 games of the season that players show that they want to be here next season and that they want to be part of this Champions League squad, Scott Kennedy?
No, I think they've got enough credit in the bank. I think they've showed everything throughout the season. They've got the quality, they've got the endeavour. I think there is obvious areas for concern because Arfield has missed a fair share of games. Jack has obviously missed a huge chunk. There's the consensus that we can't rely on Aribo in midfield, so that really leaves us Davis, who's 36, and Kamara, who's potentially off ski. I mean, it's when I paint the worst picture like that, it is frightening. So I think more of a case of the club at director, boardroom level need to get the checkbook out and make sure that we don't drop off because we have dropped off post-January again through a lack of, I would say, midfield personnel. And we need to make sure that doesn't happen again. We do need the extra bit of quality for the Champions League anyway. Going forward, I just think depth, quality. And we need to seriously start thinking about long-term replacements for Steve Davis. I don't know whether that's already in the offing. There's clearly talent in the youth teams. And I'd love to see one of them step up over the next 12, 18 months and move the old timer out of the way. But for me, if you, like Kerr touched on it, Ryan Jack's the glue. When he's gone, if we had Ryan Jack, a fit, fully firing Ryan Jack against Slavia Prague, I reckon we're coming away with a different outcome, particularly at Ibrox. Definitely. So, if it is vitally important that the midfield is addressed. Do the players really need to impress? Not really. Not in my opinion.
See, just adding on to that, Kerr, what type of midfield players do you want to see us sign in the summer then?
Probably somebody like Scott said about somebody like Stephen Davis, somebody with a bit of experience, somebody can sit and hold, somebody can just control the midfield area.
It's a shame Scott Brown's just signed for Aberdeen.
Bringing in another young player, it's good having young players about the club, but a club at Rangers, and we're talking about Champions League, and we're not talking about winning it right enough like Neil Lennon did, but we're talking about Champions League and getting through some of it. You need quality in there, and some young players are great, but you need to be a bit of experience at times. That's the way I feel. Also, we need experience, and that's what Stephen Davis has brought us since he's been at Ibrox, back to Ibrox. He's brought us experience and know how to win games, how to do things. So we need somebody like that. Maybe not in the early 20s, maybe like 30s. I don't know. Ross Wilson obviously be looking at players, and so will Gerrard. So I don't know, but there's a lot of players out there we can go for. But as you know, Wally, it comes to money. And money is the issue with Rangers, so to bring midfield players in, we might have to sell a couple of players to make that happen. And it's who we sell. And if you sell somebody you don't want to sell, you end up looking for other positions as well.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing, recently we have obviously been linked with quite a few midfield players. So you wonder if it is. Let's be honest about it. It probably doesn't take a genius to work out that we need midfield players. So even the press can work that one out from time to time, So when you look at, I think it was yesterday and today, we've been linked with the guy from Holland. Is it Veerman? We've been linked with him. Obviously, in the past, we've been linked with a pre-contract offer for John Lundstrom. I think that's how you say his name. And then also, there's a lot of fans that would love to see John Fleck come back, because a lot of fans see John Fleck as a younger version of Stephen Davis. So, is this the type of player that we need, or do you think we still need somebody that's going to sit in front of that back four that, if Ryan Jack was to miss 5-10 games next season, that we've got sitting, waiting to come into play? Do you think we need another one of those players as well? We'll come to you first, Kennedy.
Yeah, I do, but I think the role is also probably a little bit more dynamic than just sit in front of the defence. Because if we look at the last Old Firm game, you saw Stephen Davis pop up with a bicycle kick at the edge of the 6-yard box. So that was the last place we all expected. I see our midfield three tick the same way Liverpool do. So you got, interchangeably it's Fabinho, Wijnaldum, and Milner, or who else, Thiago, or another Keita. And if you look at them, they are like the ball of energy in the middle of the park. And that is what we want to create. So we don't necessarily need two players bombing or one creative player. We need three energetic players. One, like Fabinho, that sticks to his role, is exactly what Davis does. He gets all over the park. And we see it. He gets all over the park. But see, when we don't have the ball, he gets back and he's disciplined in position. And then we've got the two either side. And again, they're all over the park. But when we lose the ball, or when the fullback pushes forward, they're disciplined in their role and they come back and they sacrifice themselves for the team. So they're never going to have spectacular goal scoring numbers or assist numbers, as whatever the obsession is. But when you look at, particularly name the players that you name, like Fleck and Lundstrom, you can see how they fit in that mould. And for me, if we got those two in, absolutely fantastic. And I know they haven't had the best season at Sheffield United, but I don't really know what's gone on there or how their performances have looked. You can't really judge a team of 11 or a squad of 20 on 2 players. It just doesn't work like that. Like, for example, Wijnaldum was probably the best example. They picked him up from Newcastle. Liverpool picked him up from Newcastle. He just got relegated. So that was the last person you'd expect to go straight into an 11 who would then go on to win the European Cup.
Yeah.
So, there's, if we could get players like that, absolutely, definitely excited. And I've kind of got off on a tangent. I forgot what you asked.
No, I mean, I think that's about right. I think when you look at, that midfield area is a tough one because obviously we've had quality now there for the last couple of years. But we do appreciate that Scotty Arfield's getting a little bit older. Stephen Davis is getting a little bit older. Ryan Jack has had persistent injuries, let's be honest about it, So, it clearly is an area. And I think we are all concerned about Glenn Kamara based on the fact that he's been so good for us. If he goes and does that for Finland, how many clubs are going to show an interest in Glenn? And I think that's our biggest fear out the lot of them, probably. So, I would imagine the club are probably looking at least 2, possibly 3 if Glenn was to go. And I certainly wouldn't be against John Fleck or Lundstrom. I've saw a bit of Lundstrom, and he's quite versatile.
Yeah.
He can obviously drop back in the defensive positions. He can play in midfield. He's a big physical lad. And maybe that's something that maybe I've heard other people talk about. Maybe they think our midfield could be stronger, more physical. And it is maybe something that we haven't maybe had for a few years, but that's because we're so technically good. We don't really be physical because, like, Davis can pass the ball around guys 20 times a game and so can Kamara. But maybe you do need that other side of the game. And obviously, John Fleck to me, I obviously seen John when he was 15, 16, first showing up in the Rangers first team. Technically, John's just a fabulous footballer. Thinking about coming back home to Scotland with his family to settle down again, I just think that's a no-brainer. If Rangers can come to an agreement over a fee and his wages, then I just think he would be an unbelievably good acquisition for us. I can honestly say I don't know a huge amount about the Dutch lad. I understand he's
neither do I,
national. But if the fee is like £5-6 million and wages, do you think that's going to outwith our structure right now unless somebody was sold, Kennedy?
Do you know, when you mentioned Glenn Kamara, part of me is like, it's almost like twigged. Why isn't he signed a new contract? I know there's talk in the offing. Part of me thinks that there's an agreement in place that, okay, well, Glenn, you go off to the Euros. There's no point in giving him a contract if he's just going to leave because he's got enough time on his contract left. We're not concerned about the length or getting bargained down because he's got a short period or 18 months left or whatever. That, okay, we'll see what happens at the Euros. There's no point in putting him on a bumper salary and then paying him a huge signing on fee. You may as well go, right, okay, we'll save that cash and you're gonna go in the summer for a huge fee and you're free to negotiate your own huge contract. If that doesn't happen, we'll give you a pay rise anyway. Yeah. After the Euros. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's that kind of like waiting or hesitation. That said, who knows, probably a contract announcement tomorrow. But like there's like that kind of thought in my head, which then leads me to think, right, okay, well, the midfield replacement, if it's 5 or 6 million, and I think we could get 15 million plus for Kamara, like quite comfortably. He is class. He really is class. So taking a chunk of that and reinvesting in the team, in one player in particular, I think, again, if Lundstrom again is still on the radar and as a free, if you're picking up those 2 players for 5 or 6 million quid and Kamara's out for 50 million quid, it's an absolute no-brainer. I'd be really gutted to see Kamara go. And Barbies, I don't know much about this other lad, so he could be out. He could be terrible. But I've seen enough of Lundstrom to know that it's a low risk maneuver.
Yeah, I think that's all fair. I think what you guys have said, basically covers what we're needing. I think Lundstrom would be a great fit. I genuinely do. Whether the wages are there, then that's obviously a big issue. If somebody's a free in England, obviously somebody like an Aston Villa could jump in and give them 50, 60 grand a week. And clearly that kind of blows us out of the water because I don't think every player is that interested in playing in the Champions League. I know that sounds a dumb thing to say, but You know, if Rangers were to offer them 25 grand a week, but somebody's offering them 60, you know, the Champions League doesn't come into it at that point, doesn't it? No, I mean, it's not really part of the conversation, let's be honest. And I think that's possibly the concern with somebody like Lundstrom. But we'll see what comes of us in the next couple of weeks. Obviously, we've only got about 2.5, 3 weeks left to go in the season, so the fun will begin the day after the season ends, and the madness of the summer, where we'll be linked with
Everybody.
100 players, and we'll end up with about 3, which is obviously how it usually works out.
Anybody
Right.
on Liverpool, let's go, will be linked me.
Yeah, look, I think, mate, like, sort of regardless of what happens in the summer, we're still going to be in a good place. It's just about adding the right bodies in at the right time and the right money. And if we do lose 1 or 2 players, then, you know, the way that Ross Wilson's done his business so far would suggest that we've got guys lined up, or there's guys being watched thoroughly, that, you know, if one person leaves, there's somebody ready to come in. And I think we've seen enough of that so far to suggest that is the case. And I think Scott Kennedy's potentially hit the nail on the head. If there is something going on behind the scenes, Rangers will be working hard to make sure they'll have somebody lined up to take over.
Aye.
And that's just how it is. It's just a constant cycle. And that's how it'll always be, because in Scottish football, we are selling clubs.
Aye.
It's just that reality. We can't get away from that now. Where we are, our biggest assets will be sold for the highest bidder. And we need to then move on and find another gem. And if the rumours about Hadji for like 15 million are true, the club's made a £12 million profit in 12 months. Which is, you know, I mean, that's incredible business for a football club. We'd love to keep Giannis, but if somebody comes in and offers silly money, you know, we really can't stand in anybody's way at the end of the day. Especially
Everybody
with
has a price.
Yeah, look, mate, absolutely. And that's how you go to look at it. I mean, that's business, especially Scottish football-wise.
Aye.
Right, let's get back to the game on Sunday. I think earlier on we kind of touched on it with the kind of mentality thing. We've obviously not lost to Celtic now for a while. Going into the game on Sunday, is that an edge for us, having won whatever that is, like 4 of the recent 5 games? Does that give us a mental edge, Kerr?
It does. It will give the players an edge, because we'll think, well, they've not beat us for a while. So they've not beat us since I've been here, they'll say it themselves. So they'll go into it confident. But we'll have to go into it confident, yeah. But the last 2 games Celtic have been actually unfortunate. They've created a lot of chances, missed a penalty. So it's not like Scotty said earlier, it's not like they've got players in their squad who are crap. They've got actually decent footballers, and so we'll have to go in with a big confidence, but we'll go in with a bit of belief as well. But we have to be just more defensively minded, I think, on Sunday, because Celtic in the last game had a lot of chances which, if they took their day, they probably could have won. So we'll have to be better at the back, I feel. But I think if we play the way we can play, we still should win it. But a lot of players, well, I don't know about our side, but a lot of the Celtic players, this could be their last ever Old Firm game. So they'll want to go into the park on Sunday, especially Ibrox, and get a win, especially something like Scott Brown. So I see him flying about the park for 90 minutes like he's a man possessed. So we'll see how it goes.
What about yourself, Scott Kennedy? Do you think the mental edge is important in these games, or does it not really matter in the overall scheme of things?
It's vitally important. And Kerr, to be honest, if the Celtic players gave a damn before, which they don't, they ain't going to start giving a damn now. That's reality. I've seen it with us. Last game of the season, it could be the last Old Firm game, and the Rangers players didn't turn up, and we end up getting humped 5-4 or 5-1. And it only takes 3 or 4 players just to chuck down the tools. And I know you mentioned Scott Brown, and like there's probably some expectation that there's going to be like some last hurrah from him, but he's finished. He's done as a footballer. Like the performances, or the man of the match performance in the game that did they get a draw? I can't remember. Yeah. The one game I didn't even notice him, so I don't even know how he got man of the match. The edge is firmly. Mentality is firmly with us. I think the problem is, as I said, was the complacency, and I touched on it with Joe Aribo, where last season, when it felt like we had a point to prove and we were wanting to get back to the top dogs, we were at it, the energy wise, we were in their face. Nowadays it's we trust our ability, we trust what we do with the ball, we're composed, we're comfortable with Celtic having the ball and maybe creating a chance, because as it transpires, is they don't have the mentality to actually score against us. And I know Elianisi scored at Parkhead, but that was a fluke, let's face it. And it's us. We're in their heads. They've got like a mental block. We stand tall, puff our chests out. We keep going. yeah, I fancy us to win. I'd absolutely love us to give them a scudding, but there's something that holds us back as well, that we're too laid back. I think we do, but yeah,
Too
confident.
nice.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I mean, like, I remember, obviously, just before Gerrard came in, obviously, the sort of Caixinha Murty phase. I mean, there was a genuine fear every time we played Celtic that we were going to get battered.
Aye.
And like you could see that when, I mean, I think it was that day we lost 5-0 at Parkhead, and there was still like 40 minutes to go. And like you're sitting in the away end thinking, if they actually keep going here, this could be like the heaviest defeat that I've ever seen, like ever. But thankfully, it did end up 5-0, which is a crazy thing to say just 5-0. But it sort of feels like that's like ours now. It feels like before we got on the pitch, we've just got that little step. There's that little edge that we have ahead of them. And for us to have turned that round in the last couple of years is impressive. And it shows you maybe the mental strength for the manager and that he's gradually got it into every single player that we're as good as them and now we're better. And the players now believe that. So when they go out in the pitch, there's not that fear factor anymore. You know, the players don't fear playing at Parkhead anymore. You know, we've won like sort of 2 the last 3, we drew the other one. So the fear side of that's gone. And then at Ibrox, obviously, this season, we've been very, very impressive. We've looked strong. We don't concede a lot of goals. So, yet again, the players get into Sunday having that feeling that, you know, if we can get that first goal and get in front, then there's a certain degree of inevitability about it that we will go on to win the game. And I think that's just where we are now. Okay, for last kind of 5 minutes or so, what's the starting 11, Kerr, and what's the final score?
My starting 11, I'll go with you. Back 4, I'll say Highlanders fit, so I'll go with him, Golson, Tav and Barisic, McGregor in goals. Midfield 3, I'll go with Arfield, Kamara and Davis, and then I'll put Scott. I say Scott Wright Ellis, so Scott Wright, Kent Morelos, so I can't change it, so I'll go with Scott Wright. And the score will be 3-1.
I like it. Scott Kennedy, what about yourself, mate? Are you of the same mind, or are you kind of tweaking that team a little bit?
I'm tweaking it slightly. Same back 5, but I'm sticking Aribo for Arfield in the middle, right up top, with Kent and Morelos, and obviously Davis and Kamara in the middle. Yeah. I just think, I hope that's the team that we go with. I just think it's got an attacking mentality with a bit of skill and guile, and 4-2. I want to see some goals. Not for them, but I want to see some goals for us. I want us to have a bit of a swagger. I remember the cup game. We had a really good period of about 20 minutes, and the swagger returned right before half time. I want to see that. I want to see that again. I really enjoyed that. It's like one of the rare times you actually get to sit back and enjoy an old firm game. So that's what I want to see.
Yeah, I think I feel the same way. I think when you look at, see when we play at a certain intensity, we're such a better team.
Yeah.
You know, we move the ball quicker, our quality's better. And I think as Scott Kerr pointed out earlier on, there's a genuine fear with Ryan Kent. You know, anytime Kent runs at them, they look petrified. You know, they can deny that all they want, but see when you watch the games, you just see them backtracking. And I think for me, I would be giving Ryan Kent the ball every opportunity. Because
But this is the beauty, because Scott Wright has the capability to do that on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just about to say, yeah. Well, that's it. You've now got two options doing the same thing, 2 options with guys attacking their fullbacks, which, let's be honest about it, is probably one of the weakest parts of their team right now. You see if Laxalt starts again, Rangers should be on him for the first kick of the ball. You know, and
Kenny as well. Kenny's shite as well.
Yeah, John Joe Kenny.
I mean, I'll be honest. I actually watched him a wee bit in the Bundesliga, and I actually thought he would have been a decent signing for Celtic. But I don't know if that's just the fact that he's walked into that dressing room and he's just kind of followed the kind of sheep about, you know. But I mean, like, it feels like that, because I genuinely don't think the guy's that bad a player. Like, I don't think you go to the Bundesliga and play as well as he did and be a bad player. I think it's just where they are right now. But for me, like, we've got to attack their fullbacks. And see if we attack their fullbacks all day, we should be scoring a couple of goals. And I agree with what Scott Kennedy says. It. See for that spell, we could have banged in another couple of goals easy. And they were getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and they couldn't get out. And it was just pure pressure. You know, the fullbacks are up at the halfway line. You've got like sort of Patterson and halfway and Barisic, and we're just getting higher and higher, and they're getting deeper and deeper. And that's what you need to do. Like, you need to push them back and push them back. And eventually they're going to crack. I think we've seen enough this season that at centre-back, they're vulnerable. You know, they went and spent whatever it was, a £2 million loan fee and 40 grand a week on Shane Duffy. And we've basically not seen the guy play against us for about 6 months. You know, he's totally went this. We've now got an academy player in there. And like Christopher Aguirre, who was apparently the next Maldini a year ago. You know, so that's how quickly football changes. You know, like for me on Sunday, I want us to come out. I want us to be at it for the first minute. I want us to get the early goal. And then I want us to just keep going. You know, I want to see that attitude of, you know, one's not enough, two's not enough, three's not enough. I want to see us score as many goals as we can score. I want us to put a marker down for next season. I feel that is important because, you know, over the summer they're going to have a new manager, they're going to bring in new players, but let's leave them with something to think about. And let's give them, you know, like a 3 or a 4 goal hiding. That's what I want to see us do. And I feel as though we are more than capable of doing it with the players we've got.
I want to see us go. I want to see, like, we've got a real opportunity to go from the next 2 games unbeaten and then walk into 2022 having them not beaten us this decade. I mean, that's just keep going. See how long we can get this run going for. Get our own 10 in a row. 10 years without them beating us. I know. Martin cuts that bit out.
No, look, I think that shows you where the supporters are now. Like, the supporters have a degree of confidence going into these games, and I think that's a good thing. It kind of calms the nerves down a wee bit, not 100%, but it calms them down a wee bit. But for me, Elena, I agree. I think Sunday, I want to see Scott Wright start. I want to see Scott Wright and Kent start wide and Morelos through the middle. I think it'll be Arfield, Davis and Kamara. I think Joe might be the one to miss out. And I really do hope that Phillips fit, because if Phillips fit next to Golson, I think we just all have that wee bit more confidence when those guys are playing. And I'm going to go for 3-0 Rangers. I don't usually say things like that, but I just think we'll get a reaction. I just think the players will be gutted about the cup game. The players will know they've let themselves down. They'll know that they've let away a great chance of winning the cup competition. And I really think that on Sunday we'll come out all guns blazing. And I think the manager will have told them in no uncertain terms either that the best way to get back in the fans' good books is to go out there and absolutely demolish Celtic. And I think we will. I really genuinely do. And I'm never usually this confident. Maybe it's one of those headshot moments that the reaction in Sunday we've been beat and I'm looking like a bit of an idiot. But I don't know, there's just a feeling inside that, you know, we're going to kind of score a couple of goals and we're going to win comfortably. And I hope that's the case. Right. I think that's about us. We've all had a 40-minute kind of overconfidence boost now that Rangers are going to win on Sunday. If anybody's to blame, it's Scott Kerr, this guy on that side there, that way. That guy right there. So thanks again for listening in. Really appreciate you checking out the Rangers Rabble whenever we're on, if it's a preview, the reactions. Make sure you subscribe and leave a like as well. Thanks very much, guys. See you later. Bye.